Upon reaching class 6 or starting the secondary school, the student on average is 12 years old. Puberty strikes, also the maturity level increases. Is it purely biological causes, or is there some psychological or spiritual causation in this shift in consciousness upon crossing age 12? That is a question that is beyond the scope of this book, of course. But I wanted to chip in this idea to emphasize that it's not only the syllabus that expands upon reaching secondary level, but the students themselves have an expanded mental capacity because of expanded consciousness. Up till the primary school, the student was learning the basics. In our four brain model, we can say that in terms of language, he was developing the skill brain quadrant, the building blocks of joining letters to form words, joining words to form sentences, joining sentences to form paragraphs, all added like those building blocks. This enabled the student to read, at least aloud, and understand to some extent. Because of this reading capacity, the students were able to understand more when they were listening because of an increased vocabulary and the knowledge of tenses in grammar. Input leads to output, and consequently, the student was now able to write. Again, this writing led him to be able to speak more eloquently. As we already talked about earlier, by grade 5, the student is able perform the basics of language skills despite making plenty of mistakes. I have found that most of the students are able to build their language skills up to this level very easily. However, it is after crossing class 6 that the difficulties add up. I have talked about the inverted pyramid concept of the skill brain quadrant earlier. Well, after the above blocks have been put in place, more layers must be added to increase the depth of this pyramid. However, that is difficult. Also, it requires more effort as well as more feedback. And this is where most of the students fail. They cannot continue expanding that inverted pyramid of language skills. It is too hard. So, what is it that is so hard? Let me explain. After reaching class 6, the expectation on the students should be that he should be able to listen and write what he has heard. So he must be familiar with the pronunciation of words, be it in English or in another language. He must know what is the beginning of a sentence and that it must start with a capital letter. He must be able to identify what is a full stop based on the pause of the person speaking or the flow of his ideas as he speaks. When he is taking dictations, he will not understand many words, but he still must be able to transcribe. That takes a lot of effort. So, what is happening now is that the teacher is helping the student increase his listening skills and writing skills together. This wiring of the brain is very important throughout life. Every dictation must be checked word by word by the teacher, and the student must be provided feedback. In this way, the student is learning from his mistakes. Reading must be perfected in the secondary level now that the student can identify a sentence from a group of words and the subject, verb, object from a group of words between a capital letter and a full stop or any other punctuation mark. The challenge is to read as quickly as possible and still understand. So the teacher would ask the student to read a passage and ask questions after the allotted time is over. As this process of reading is going on, the knowledge brain quadrant of the student is also expanding. With the need to read quickly and give correct answers, the student will start to develop the skill of finding patterns. He will be able to identify the parts of language that keeps coming over and over again, and those that are not so frequent. He will build clearer, more detailed picture of language and any other concepts after each readings. In this way, he will refine and perfect his knowledge. He will know how to repeat this process as a skill that is of adding layers of knowledge upon the earlier layer of knowledge. In secondary school, the student must be encouraged to ask questions about what is being taught compulsorily. This will force his knowledge brain quadrant to expand. The layers of knowledge that he had earlier created through the readings will be forced to mesh and intertwine because he has to figure out what he hasn't understood and express those things in terms of questions. Questions in this way are the seeds that catalyzes the growth of the student's knowledge brain quadrant. Every student must be asked random questions and expected to give a prompt answer in the class itself. That will enhance his talking skills. If the student makes grammatical mistakes while he speaks, then he must be corrected. In this way, the information brain quadrant is activated. What I mean by that is because the child is forced to give answers in front of all his friends, he now sees the use of learning grammar, vocabulary, dictation, comprehension, everything about language. He understands that he has to learn so that he won't be seen as a fool or dumb in front of his friends when being asked a question. When he's corrected for mispronouncing a word and using the wrong tense or the wrong preposition, then his information brain quadrant will become hyperactive. It will cause his skill brain quadrant to expand so that it can learn and master the tense table for as many verbs as possible. Also, because now he sees language as indispensable, he will be motivated to increase his vocabulary, even if he has to look at the dictionary every minute of his reading. So by class 8, he would have developed higher language skills with the help of motivation from the information brain quadrant and of pattern recognition from the knowledge brain quadrant. Now comes the turn to activate his wisdom brain quadrant. Upon reaching the secondary level, the student must be exposed to reading material like novels, news, data, research work, and so on. Now that he has the necessary brain wiring to decipher a book, a chapter, or a page or sentence by using the rules of grammar that he has learned, along with a big enough vocabulary, he can explore more books, more articles, more stories, more news, more data, more research. Soon, this student will realize that all the love stories have got a similarity, that there is a pattern. The same goes with all the crime stories, the fairy tales. He realizes that there is a connection between various stories, various news sources, various data, various research. Soon he develops the capacity to bridge everything that he reads and interrelate them in ways that he never thought was normal. This is the beginning of the bridging process, which is the hallmark of the wisdom brain quadrant. By reading further, he learns more metaphors, more analogies, similes. All this helps him to interconnect everything that he's reading into common themes and use the knowledge of one topic to help him understand another topic. Slowly, he learns the idioms and various phases. He learns that language doesn't only have a literal meaning but also has a figurative meaning. In this way, our student is now exploring outer space of language. Whereas in primary school he was just based on land, now he's an astronaut in secondary school. Even saying the sky is the limit is inappropriate here for the student whose four brains have been activated because of language. Now the infinite space is the limit for him. The role of the teacher doesn't end with giving dictations, making the student ask questions, making them participate in class, and giving them feedback all through. In language, the role of the teacher is paramount. Next, the teacher must help the student understand exactly what he is reading. He must understand what is the purpose of the writer. That is about the skill brains quadrant. The teacher must then teach the student to read between the lines and based on other information and knowledge that he has, deduct or infer on what the writer really wanted to say or could not say or was implying or insinuating. By doing comparative analysis, the students must be encouraged to offer better ways to express what the writer has been saying or writing here. In this way, now the student is engaging in the process of learning language using the four brain quadrants voraciously. Before you send off that child to college, make sure that he is made to debate in the class. That's gonna expand his information brain quadrant to the limits, because now everything that he has learned will be put to use at the speed of the thought of his opponent. By the end of school, the student would have got a very detailed and elaborate picture of language. He would know that every word has a synonym and an antonym. He would know that there is always a word to describe a feeling, even though he might not know it. He will be able to differentiate between an adjective and an adverb and a noun. He would know that by changing a preposition after a verb, the meanings of the sentence change. He would know how to find the root of a word that he doesn't understand and derive the meaning from it, even without having to look in a dictionary right away. He would know that the emphasis can be placed by describing anything with three adjectives instead of two or four. He would know that with every new idea there should be a paragraph change. Even in terms of listening, he will be able to guess what will be the next word when the speaker hesitates for a while. Now he has enough content to dig from in order to understand what he's listening at. Until secondary school ends, most students are not very fluent in the languages because they are still absorbing words, the various grammatical forms. But by reaching class 10, the student will be able to talk as fluently and correctly as he writes. The words won't be perfect, but the meaning will be conveyed. He would know what is ambiguity, and he will try not to convey double meanings as he speaks, because this is what he has been taught as he was writing. Whereas in primary level, he was only made to read simple sentences in the abridged form of books. Now he is exposed to the full version of books, and thus he can understand complex sentences with two or more verbs. He can decipher a sentence, find what are the various pieces of the sentence, which is the main verb and which is the subsidiary verb, where is the conjunction and what is it describing. Thereafter, what is this whole complex sentence trying to say, and if need be, how to break it down. So secondary school is the most important phase in terms of language, or you can say the whole education of the student, because language is the fundamental part of learning. When the child is between 12 to 16, it's the best time to hit the iron because it's super hot. So this is another imagery that I myself learned in school. This involves the wisdom brain quadrant, because I have to compare the brain with the hot iron, and the heating with the teaching. Anyways, all this is learned by the time the student is in class 10 and around 16, 15 or 17. After those critical years, somehow the student has a closed mind, or maybe iron that is now cold, and even if you hit it, it won't take a proper shape. Something happens after those critical years are missed and language skills that I have mentioned are not imparted. That thing is, the student is still able to pass the exams and go to higher grades, even up to the master's degree, but he would have only the building blocks of language that are up to the understanding of simple sentences, and vocabulary that is 20% of what the ideal student would have. In terms of the knowledge brain quadrant, he would not have enough content to make patterns and find relations that would hamper any thing that he studies in the future. Most writers are the kind of students that I have described, that have expanded their brains in the secondary school level, and so they write with certain expectations that the readers would have the mental frameworks required to understand dualities, exceptions, and structure. But those who missed this critical phase wouldn't have this neural wiring of the knowledge brain quadrant. In addition, their information brain quadrant wouldn't be active because they wouldn't be in the habit of linking what vocabulary they have learned to daily use in the process of talking and presenting. Also, their wisdom brain quadrant wouldn't be active because they would not have been exposed to the literature that would open the doors to figurative speeches and creativity. Consequently, we have two distinct different type of students. One who learned English as per the book during the secondary school. Then the other one is a student who missed the boat. It's sad, but it's the reality. Secondary school is a time when the larva transforms into the butterfly that is now ready to fly into college and graduate school.